Hi, folks. Welcome to Disability Landscape. We've got another musical edition today, and he's going to start off by doing a song for us. So I'd like to introduce Joseph Baird.
So this is a song called "On Our Way," and it's on my CD "Lost and Found," and it's really a song about how we don't ever do everything really in our life alone. We're connected one way or another, and how we do it together, and that there's a power greater than ourselves involved in the process. This is called "On Our Way." I've been looking to the sky, sending wishes way up high, hoping life will go our way, living only for today. Doing all the things I know I gotta do if I'm gonna make it to my dreams. Knowing all the while, all I really need is to have faith. 'Cause I'm on my way to the dreams that I dreamed of long ago. I can do it, I know. I'm on my way if I try. You've been looking to the sky, sending prayers way up high, hoping life will work out right. You're never giving up the fight. Doing all the things you know you gotta do if you're gonna make it to your dreams. Knowing all the while, all you really need is to have faith. 'Cause you're on your way to the dreams that you dreamed of long ago. You can do it, I know. You're on your way if you try.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Disability Landscape. I'm Mark Knutson, and this is our musical edition. And for these musical editions, we have our co-host, who is musically inclined, because I am not. I like to welcome Thabiso Rowan. I got that correct, right?
You got it.
All right. Welcome back. How are things with you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. Keeping busy. You know, I work at a disability resource center, so that's been keeping me busy. I am, doing some art groups for persons with disabilities. There's an organization, SPNN, and they're going to be doing a 3-day arts festival for persons with disabilities who will be featured in this arts festival, and I'll be the MC, so I was going to be hosting MC in that event. So staying busy as usual, Mark.
Okay, great. Well, why don't you introduce someone they've already seen, because he's done one song, but why don't you officially introduce him?
Yeah. So here today we have Joseph Baird. And Joseph, welcome. So good to see you.
Thanks, good to be here.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. Always a pleasure to play music and sing. That's my stuff.
Yeah, sounds really beautiful stuff. So
Thank you.
It's great.
I guess I'll start off with being non-musical. I'll take an easy question here. How did you get started were you young, or how did you get started in the music arena?
Well, my parents were both classically trained musicians. I've got 9 brothers and sisters who were all musical. It's a music family thing. And I was in the hospital, hard to believe. I was in the Children's Rehab Center at the University of Minnesota for 2 years and 2 days. And when I first got there, my mother knew I was going to be there for a long time. And Mom showed up with a guitar. I said, "Well, Mom, you play the cello. What's with the guitar?" She said, "Well, this isn't mine." I said, "Who's this?" She said, "This is yours." I said, "Mom, I don't know how to play." She lined up one of the nursing staff there knew someone that played guitar and said, "Would you show him some stuff?" And and I had a little stereo set up in my room. I was there a long time in the rehab center, and was listening to John Denver and James Taylor and other, Joni Mitchell, other Carole King, all those artists kind of inspired me to get really with it, and started playing and just kind of took off with it. It was like ingrained, automatic.
Okay.
Okay, and so you, Joseph, you explained a little bit about your disability. Could you go a little bit more into depth about how you, attained your disability, and also maybe followed up with what that means to you and how that kind of has influenced your life?
Well, I appreciate that. Disability for me is, so I was paralyzed from the waist down at 18 months of age, not even 2 years old yet, and it was there was a tumor on my spine. When they did the exploratory surgery, they looked at it and went, "That's cancer. We've seen it before."
Okay.
So they did the neurology team very carefully excised the tumor not to damage the spinal cord. The oncology team said, "Well, we don't want to radiate; it's going to come right back." So they did a form of radiation, deep X-ray, which actually melted my spinal cord and paralyzed me from the waist down.
Oh.
Then the biopsy reports came back; it wasn't cancer.
Oh.
So the radiation melted my spinal cord, and the neurology team was so careful not to damage the spine, but complete total paralysis at the thoracic 10 level. So only 18 months old. Then, when I think about like going to school, I was not allowed to go to public school. I was sent to crippled children's school.
Yeah, where was?
I was in Worthington, Minnesota.
Oh, Worthington. Okay, because you were from. I'm sorry.
I'm from Grand Rapids.
Oh,
so the other end of the
Grand
States.
Rapids. You had to go down to Worthington.
Yeah, so that was like 500 miles away from home. So that was not great. There was really nothing available other than that in those days.
Well, there was Michael Dowling in the Twin Cities.
And what happened was after 2 years at Worthington, I went to a year at Michael Dowling.
Okay.
And at Michael Dowling, I was in a foster home because I don't live here.
Oh, right.
And then because of the medical problems I had related to the radiation they gave me for the cancer I didn't have.
Oh.
Had all these different problems, and I went into the hospital at the University of Minnesota Children's Rehab Center. Was there for 2 years and 2 days. Many surgeries.
Right. Wow.
Complicated mess, and it was all because of that mistake.
Yeah. And so you got involved in music at that young age. When did you?
I was 10.
Yeah. So when
and
you got the guitar, and then eventually where did it go after that?
So I took to it right away.
You did. Okay.
It was like meant to be, because the music thing just was already in me. Growing up with a family of musicians and my parents both being classically trained, there was always music in the house. In fact, my twin brother and I, when we were roommates before we were born, mother was playing the cello. So we were listening to classical music before we were born.
Okay.
So anyway, I picked up the guitar thing, and that was like, I was a great big Beatle fan back in the day. Can't help it. And then certainly was a big fan of John Denver. In fact, John Denver actually visited that rehab center because it was then state of the art. And he came into my room. I got a guitar. He said, "You play guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Play me something." So I'm like, "Play for John Denver?" Okay.
Yeah, really.
So I played a little bit. And he said, "Keep playing, kid. You got the stuff." So that was really an interesting point in my life.
Oh gosh.
But then I kept doing it. I was very interested in the music thing, and played a lot. Was actually in a rock band back in high school. But then after I got into college.
Where was high school, if you don't?
Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Okay, Grand Rapids, gotcha.
That's where we were.
Yeah, so that's where you got the rock band and all that.
So I did all that. Then I really got serious about playing acoustic guitar and got to meet some people. I got to know Michael Johnson, who was then living in the Minnesota area. He's passed away now. He was famous for the song "Bluer Than Blue," if that rings a bell.
Oh, right, yeah.
Great, amazing guitarist. Was flamenco and classically trained in Spain at one point, and then was a performer all over the country in the college market, and did really well for himself. Had a number of albums out there, and got to know him a little bit. That was a great thing. But there's a lot of the music thing just fell into me. It seemed like the right thing to do. So I got serious about it. And then I came up with it, eventually made an album, and Michael played on that album, which is Lost and Found is the name of my CD. Then I was going on tour in 1989, August 18th. On the way to my first gig, I got in my brand new car, less than 500 miles on it, hit by a train. Pushed 200 yards down the tracks before it could stop. Was in a coma for 10 days, in the hospital for 3 months. And the next 2 years were really a lot of rehab challenge, getting better. And then I pursued my career in the college market again, because I had toured quite a bit all over the country.
Wow, that's amazing to hear your story, and thank you for sharing. And I guess in terms of music, it sounds like I sense like reminded of like a James Taylor kind of feel, and I was noticing your beautiful guitar. Could you explain a little bit about your influences in life for music, and not just musicians, but maybe from your life and having a disability, and then also maybe your connection with your instruments?
Well, the music thing. Part of the thing for me is as a kid with a disability. I mean, having grown up with a disability, I went to crippled children's school where I didn't get really a very substantial education.
Right. Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
And when I finally got back into school, trying to fit in was a difficult thing back in those days. In our school, I was the only kid with a disability.
Right. Yeah, that's hard.
And initially, I went through some teasing. I was teased as a kid with a disability, called the crip and all this stuff.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the, so it wasn't, and it was rare for you to be a wheelchair user in our school. In fact, the first school I went to was not very accessible, and they had just built a new high school shortly after that was pretty accessible. Fitting in was a difficult thing back in those days, and I'd been listening to music a lot, and James Taylor was one of my favorite people to listen to, and I kind of emulated much of what he did. I also have a couple brothers that are also players and singers. Mm-hmm. My brother Anthony is a guitarist.
Oh, he is. I was wondering. So I believe with guitars.
And brother Paul plays guitar. My twin brother is a harmonicist, and they're all singers. And my twin brother Jim also plays guitar too now. My sister Helen's quite the singer.
Okay.
And brother Tom's a singer. And so we pretty much a choir growing up. I mean, like at Christmas time, it was like
I would imagine. Yeah,
it was part of the deal. So that was something. The music thing opened the door for me in lots of ways, and then I ultimately ended up touring in the college market, a lot like what Michael Johnson had done prior to that. So that was a really good way in. The other thing I started to do is I got asked to talk about disability issues, and then I ended up telling my story about how I was mainstreamed into public school and all the things I went through as a kid with a disability, and did some disability awareness things at colleges and universities too.
Right, yeah. And then, like you said, with the college tour, how far away did you, was it like the 5-state area, or how far did you travel?
Initially, when I first got going, I was pretty much Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then as I got going the next couple years, I expanded I was involved in NACA, the National Association for Campus Activities, and did their national conference.
Okay.
And then I toured pretty extensively in the South Central United States, in the West, Northwest.
So you got out there.
All the way down to Florida, all the way as far east as Ohio and all that too. So I've toured pretty extensively.
Yeah, you have that. Yeah. More than just the 5-state area.
That's right.
And Joseph, do you? I guess one question that's coming to mind is a big question. Do you have your art out there, music out there that people can access?
I've got a CD out of my original music called Lost and Found, which is the two of the songs I did today are from that CD. Things were really rolling for me until August 18th of 1989. I had this beautiful tour booked. First gig was to be in Ripon College in Ripon, Wisconsin, August 18th. The last gig of the tour was in the end of February in Southern California. on the way to the first performance. I didn't even get to the first gig yet. I went and picked up my sound stuff down in the southeastern part of the Twin Cities, and drove from that, my guy who worked on my gear, to railroad tracks and was hit by a train.
Oh, and that's when the train...
Switched 200 yards down the tracks at the front of the train before it could stop. Was in a coma for 10 days, hospital for 3 months. Real difficult recovery. Rehab stuff took a couple of years for me to get back to the point where I was back in action.
And being a spiritual person, it sounds like Spirit had other plans for you.
I wasn't done yet.
Yeah, it wasn't done yet, of course. And one question I really like to get advice on or hear about from different musicians with disabilities is if you have any advice for maybe young musicians or young artists with disabilities out there.
Well, I think it's really important that you stick with what you're really good at, but find mentors. Find people that are already in the business that are doing well and get to know them a little bit, find out what they're doing, and then the doors have opened much bigger for people with disabilities than they used to be.
Yeah.
When I started, it was like knocking on the door to try to get in.
Yeah.
But just the accessibility in the United States of America in my lifetime has gone from almost nothing to, ADA has really opened a lot of doors for people with disabilities.
Right.
So it's better than it used to be. But if you're going to go into the arts, anything you can be involved in on a state or federal level really makes a difference.
Okay.
So.
And I just know from watching different TV shows and that when there is a guitarist, they always talk about the kind of guitar or where they got their guitar. Could you tell us about how many guitars and your guitar you have now and all that?
I have 2 guitars, and they're both James A. Olson guitars. And James A. Olson is a luthier in Circle Pines, Minnesota, just north of the Twin Cities.
Oh, wow.
And makes, in my opinion, some of the finest guitars in the world. James Taylor's got a couple of them. Sting's got one. Paul McCartney's got one. It seems that Gordon Lightfoot's got one. David Wilcox, I think, has 3 of them. When I found the first guitar that I had of his, I fell in love with it. I've never played a guitar that felt more like part of my extension of my person, and that guitar really did. He's, in my opinion, the finest luthier out there.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, in terms of the guitars, I know you mentioned you were 10 years old when you started playing guitar. And are there any other instruments, or kind of was there a time when your vocals developed? That you would say?
Well, because James Taylor was kind of a hero, and also having met John Denver, and I was a fan of his.
Right. Yeah.
Singing was part of the deal. And then I come from a family of singers, so singing was kind of second nature to me anyway. And now I've got a really great tool to sing with, the guitar. So it really made a difference.
Okay. Well, we've got just over a minute and a half to talk. Do you have another question before we go into his other song in that, Thabiso?
Yeah.
Something real quick, maybe.
Last quick question. I guess this is hard to be a quick question, but how your faith. We were talking a little bit about spirituality. How your faith kind of also ties into your whole life with the disability and the music and.
Well, faith has certainly played a big role. In my car train accident, I had an out-of-body experience and connected with the God of my understanding. I'm also a man in recovery for many years. That's another story. But God has played a big role in my life to manage some of this stuff. And for me, it's just kind of obvious that that's the way to go. And it's made such a difference for me that my faith has got me through really tough stuff. Many hospital times. I'm doing great these days.
Well, hey Joseph, thank you for joining us again in that, and hopefully we see you down the road. As usual, Thabiso, thank you for helping us out with our music editions, and we'll finish the show with another song by Joseph Baird. I'm Mark Knutson.
So wintertime, for a person that's a wheelchair user, can be a bit of a challenge. I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters in northern Minnesota, and the winters were pretty challenging for a wheelchair user. So I had this thing about springtime's my favorite because suddenly accessibility is greatly increased kind of overnight as we warm up and lose the snow. So I wrote this song called Waiting for Springtime, and it was written in November because I knew it was a long time until spring was going to be here. And this one just kind of sticks for me. So it's on my CD, Lost and Found, called Waiting for Springtime. And thank goodness spring's here again, and I usually am waiting for springtime. I am I'm just waiting for springtime. We're getting ready for snow, where the leaves have all fallen, and you know it's going cold. My heart got lost in the springtime. Oh, somewhere on life's way, a sweet little girl stole my heart away. So I'm waiting for the seasons to change. I'm just waiting for the seasons to change. I'm just waiting for springtime to know it's going cold. Oh, it must be just 10 degrees outside today, and snowflakes are falling all down around my head. But you know my heart is lost back in the springtime instead. So I'm waiting for the seasons to change. I'm just waiting for the seasons to change.